The possibility of stepping into a higher plane is quite real for everyone. It requires no force or effort or sacrifice. It involves little more than changing our ideas about what is normal. There is an awakening of consciousness, and that is certainly taking place around us at the moment. And although in essence this is truly amazing, what it's also doing is moving people into love and higher vibrations. This in many ways is causing some issues around clarity, purpose and awareness. And if you couple this with a demanding world summoned by abundance, you have a dichotomy between the physical and spiritual worlds. Lee Rowley is someone who's working with the divine on a direct level and is providing transformational help and bringing light to this eclectic mix of energy and emotions. And actually, as she says, not being normal for her was very normal.
Many, many years ago, tiny little girl, I was unable to kind of fit in, was getting lots of messages that were confusing to me. Nobody else was speaking of what was happening in their world, so I shut everything down because it wasn't normal. But little did I know that not being normal was exactly who I was supposed to be. I fit into society, shut a lot down, and then my health started going downhill. I found yoga and Ayurveda medicine, which helped me heal. And through that, more and more messages and divine channeling came through. So I found my path this way. It's been beautiful, it's been difficult, it's been love, it's been centering, everything and more.
I'm Julian Jenkins, and you're listening to That's the Spirit. Lee is a transformational guide and coach, a shamanic warrior woman guiding humanity, leaders, governments and corporation to greatness worldwide, channeling the divine messages to clients and guiding those to higher realms. A deeply devoted mother, friend and spiritual being, she's living life with a purpose for the greater good of humanity. Lee aims to be all she can be every single day, and an example for those around her. This emanates from her heartfelt messages and divine inspiration, as Lee talks openly about conforming to normality at a young age and how she shut everything down. I hope you enjoy this truly inspirational journey.
So as trying to fit in and be normal, I shut everything down and I stopped feeling. I became dead inside. I had a very dark vessel, almost. At 42, I had a full hysterectomy. At 43, I had my right hip replaced, my right knee replaced. And at 44, I had my right hip replaced. And my husband at the time looked at me and he said, "How does it feel to be so beautiful on the outside and know you're dying inside?" And it was a complete awakening for me. And that's when I found alternatives, because Western medicine and Western philosophy wasn't helping me at all. So I found yoga, which was a complete opener for me. It helped me heal the physical body. And then at that point, after a 6-month training, God came to me and he said, "Do you want to move forward?" And I said, "No, absolutely not. This is enough. Thank you." And we all have free will, and he was very gracious. And he said, "Okay." And I said, "Because I have a young son that I need to raise." And God was very understanding. And then 6 years later, got the calling again to do more spiritual work, and God said, you will get a divorce and you will be separated from your son and your life will completely change. And I found Ayurveda medicine, which is yoga's 5,000-year-old sister science. And through this, I did more healing. And through this healing, more and more channeling happened, more and more messages. And then through my Ayurvedic practices with my clients, God started messages to me to tell my clients. Like if they had a certain illness, like let's say depression or anxiety, God would come in and say, "Oh my goodness, well tell them the reason they experienced this was because of X, Y, and Z. It's not theirs to own." So the more I surrendered, and you and I talked about surrender, the more I surrendered, the more I received. It's just beautiful. And as we all progress through our journeys, we are asked to surrender more and more. But the gifts are far beyond what we could ever surrender.
When you talk about the Ayurveda medicine, for those people who don't understand that, can you go into a little bit more detail about what that is and how you used it and how it helped heal yourself?
Oh, absolutely. So Ayurveda medicine is yoga's 5,000-year-old sister science, and it all focuses around seeing us as whole, body, mind, and spirit, and healing all as one. And here in the West, we absolutely separate all three, and we don't even touch on spirituality. So with Ayurveda medicine, it heals from the very root. We're all made of different elements, and if we know our elemental makeup, there's certain diseases that we're prone to, there's certain foods that we should eat, there's certain oils, oiling the body that we should use. And through all of these practices, they're all self-healing, they're all natural, they're all organic, and you do them on a regular basis, daily, you begin to heal yourself. There's no drugs, there's no, it's healing with foods, organic foods, herbs, changing your mindset, and knowing who you are as a person. It was incredibly healing for me. So when I came out of the Ayurveda medicine class, 6 months later, I was called to help people in using these tools because it transformed my life. I removed 5 prescriptions out of my medical journal. Yeah, 5. I lost 5 inches off of my waist. And at 42 years old, I weighed 127 pounds. And I was vibrant for the first time in my life. And it was all because I found out who I really was as a person and how I needed to treat myself on a daily basis and what I could use and do.
That sounds amazing. And I know there's a lot of people, who would be in the audience this evening or watching this back on a replay thinking, God, I wish I could speak to Lee and really get granular in the nuts and bolts on that, because we keep talking about it, and we just spoke about earlier on. It's the be love. It's looking after yourself, connecting with yourself, ensuring that every day you give yourself the best chance to be as good or the best as you can be. And it sounds as if, you've gone from, having been on 5 medicines you've got rid of, you had a problem with the knee, you had, I think there's probably a lot of people that could relate to the things you're going. But then, in the next breath, after having done this for 6 months, you're talking about yoga, you're talking about exercise, you're talking, that is a big change, isn't it? And was there one single thing that you'd say, yeah, actually, when I sat down and looked back on that part of my life, this was the catalyst for the change?
It was, the catalyst for the change was I was killing myself from a Western perspective is at by the time I was 51 when I started the training, I was on 7 medications. They wanted to put me on another 4 for allergies, and that was not acceptable to me. And through coming back into finding out who I was, what elements I was made out of, I'm made of what's called vata, which is air and ether, and then fire, or pitta, which is fire and water. And if I know I'm made of these elements, there's foods that I can eat to calm the elements. I know that as the seasons change, it's windy out here in the States right now, and this is a hard time of year for me, so I apply more oil. And these are all things that we can do ourselves if we know what elemental makeup we are made of. So Ayurveda medicine is India's practiced self-healing, government-sponsored healthcare system right now. It's incredible.
And how did you find out? You talked about what elements you're made of. How do you find that out?
Well, I went through the training. It was a 6-month training, and just like you, I can look at you, Julian, and say that you are a kapha and a pitta. So there's 3 main elements: vata, which is air and ether; pitta, fire and water; and kapha, which is earth and water. And there's characteristics within each one of these elements. And there's a questionnaire that you can fill out and find out what are your elements. So what foods should you be eating? What foods should you try to stay away from? What type of practices, there's different practices in yoga, different positionings and asanas that you can do to help you ground. And it all comes back to if we know the root of who we are, then, and that comes inward, then we have found ourselves.
Sorry, go on. Go ahead. No, go. You go ahead.
When we have found ourselves internal, our heart and our souls, that's when absolute healing begins. If our elemental makeup is off, so say it's pitta, which is fire, we have massive issues with our digestive gut, our joints and our bones. And for years, I was destroying my own structural bones, hence having at 42, 43, 44, 3 massive back-to-back surgeries. And the only thing that I have done different is change what I eat and how I view myself, how I see myself, how I speak to myself, and how I've learned to love myself and forgive myself.
It's amazing what you say, because for many years, there's a lot of things I've watched over the years, but it's having that discipline to carry them through. But, some of the programs watching, Forks Over Knives and things like this, some of the journeys that those people have been on. You talk about pitta. You said it's obvious that I'm a kapha and a pitta. In the UK, a kapha means somebody who likes tea or coffee. And I do like a lot of tea and coffee, but I know it doesn't mean that, but it is that. But when you talked about pitta, then you said digestive, gut and joint and bone issues.
Yes.
You couldn't be any more true. I have a terrible digestive system. My shoulder at the moment is in absolute bits. And for the last sort of 4 or 5 years, I've had a rough old time. So even by just you picking up on that and just saying those things, it just resonated with me so quickly.
And so see, and that's true. So we know that one of your predominant elements is pitta, which is fire. So if your fire element is off, which is pitta, you're going to crave foods that push it off even further, such as caffeine,
Yeah.
onions, anything that's spicy,
Yeah.
red tomatoes made with acid.
Are you
I'm guessing.
every night because you're seeming to nail me down.
I know, and you love like espresso, caffeine,
Yeah.
jolting things. And so what happens is your pitta element is off. So then we start beating ourselves up because we're bad pittas. And so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go grab more caffeine. But if you look at it and know that like attracts like, no wonder you are craving more caffeinated onions, salt, pepper, anything that's going to push you over. So if you know these things and you're gentle on yourself and you realize, oh, my pitta is out of alignment, what do I need to do to help it come back into alignment? Okay, well, there's certain exercises to help you come out of that fire. There's certain foods that you eat. Cilantro is great for you. Parsley, water. And if you can dial back on the onions and the caffeine, and you do it gently, one day at a time, you don't try to go forcefully, you are being true to yourself. We fail when we try to go 150% at something and we do it for a day and then we can't do it. It's because that's not how we're made. Go gentle on us. Love yourself and take the time that you need to heal.
It's we got some bits and pieces going on in the comment section,
Okay.
and Andrea said that she has a book about this. Andrea is somebody from Cardiff who comes to one of my spiritual groups. She says, I have a book about this and the questions to find out what type you are, with recipes too, and a poster about crystals. And then in the next breath, she says, I'm going to have to get it out and read it now. So you've inspired somebody to read a book that they've already purchased. So well done, Andrea. You've made one change there. And Layla has asked, how do you find out your makeup? And you said, you can do questionnaires. Is there stuff on, is there sites online, or can they come and visit you? And you could, obviously, it's your business, so you can charge them. But, have you got a site that you could give these people information where they can contact you to help them?
Yeah, absolutely. Come through my personal Facebook page. Send me a friend request. Send me a personal message. At this time, I don't have a business page because honestly, I'm so busy on my personal page. I can't even imagine having a business page. But reach out and, tell me that you were part of the show and I'll absolutely be able to help you. I do like Dr. Lad, L-A-D, who is one of the leading professionals in Ayurveda medicine from India and practices here in the United States. But I practice from him. But Ayurveda medicine brought me to another level within myself. It helped me release layers upon layer upon layer. And how I was able to do that is it was over a 6-month period of time. We met weekly for 3 hours, and then once a month we met for the weekend. So if we take things in small nibbles, you nibble tiny carrots, by the time 6 months is over, you've eaten an entire garden. of beautiful organic carrots because you've allowed yourself to do that. And it comes back to, again, self-love, release of shame, blame, guilt, judgment, fear, and perfectionism. All learned behaviors that over time can be released. But if you've got a spiritual guide here in human form, that was critical for me. And when I came out of that training, I knew I had to help people. And how I would do it differently is I would practice Ayurveda medicine with my clients, but I would also do weekly or bi-weekly phone sessions with them to help them step through.
That's the support mechanism is important, isn't
Yes.
it? It's knowing that you've got somebody there who cares, and somebody who can do that. And I think, your story it absolutely resonated with me earlier. It resonates with me now because I think, for myself, for 30 years, I probably abused my body. I had abundance. I had more money than I could ever wish for. And, I lived in this absolute bubble where, if I wanted to do this, I could do that. If I wanted to do this, I could do that. And actually, I actually look back on that now and think I had everything, but I had nothing. And for me, I look back and think to myself, and it's something I keep telling myself: if everything is in bold, nothing is in bold. And for me, that was like it was crazy. And now I look back and think, I've got a lot less, but I've got a lot more. And listening to what you're saying, and I certainly am going to, look up the medicine because I need to get myself healthier, happier, lighter and brighter, to carry out the work that I know I've been put on this planet with. And thank you for that, because you certainly inspired me again, and I appreciate that. And I'm pretty sure you're going to inspire a few people who were in the comments section. We talk a little bit about we've talked a bit about the healing and how your life and the catalyst for your change. And you talk very fondly of the relationship that you have with God and how he channels with yourself. Tell us a little bit about that, and how did that start, and how has that relationship developed, and where is it today?
Okay. Again, as a tiny little girl, I was getting these messages and I didn't know where they were coming from. And I'm talking tiny at this point. And so as a tiny little girl, my parents had to tie up all of the cabinets in the kitchen, and tie the door to the refrigerator and freezer closed because I kept looking for where these messages were coming from. And I didn't understand. And so you get older and you start shutting things off. And then more and more messages are coming. And I'm like, okay, well, everybody gets these messages, but nobody talks about them. And then I would say 10 years ago, God came to me, absolutely, and I remember exactly where I was. I was in the home office here, standing in front of the copier, and he said, you can live or die. It's your choice. And I heard my soul override everything and say, I want to live. And that was a pivotal point. And he said, okay, you're going to lose everything to gain everything. And I lost my business. My son lost his health. My relationship with my husband started going downhill. And through all of this chaos, I was getting messages. And I have journals written of when he was like speaking to me, and it was like speaking to me in tongue, and I didn't know at the time. And there were all journeys of what I was supposed to do. And then one of those things where you're kind of in a trance like, and you get information, and then you wake up and you don't remember anything that you were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
But they kept getting stronger. And then I started getting dreams. And my husband and I at the time, we would call them God dreams because they were not of regular form. I absolutely went to heaven and visited somebody who at a very tender age was killed in front of me, and I witnessed that. And I was able to go up and into heaven and speak with him. And then I was, led through dreams and channeling into going into yoga and into Ayurveda medicine. And then more and more came in, and the more I would release, the more that would open. So yoga helped, Ayurveda medicine helped. I was led to come inward, and I spent a year, almost year and a half, pretty much in isolation. I moved in with a couple of friends into their basement, and I really had no contact with anybody for over a year. And the more that I was able to burn through karma and love myself and forgive myself, the more prevalent the messages came. And then when I was practicing Ayurveda medicine with my clients, I didn't realize it at the time, but God would come in and say, okay, well, if she's suffering, okay, this is her problem. She has, she was abused as a child. Tell her 1, 2, and 3. And these are not her things to own. That was somebody else's problem. And so I'm channeling, and I don't even know that I'm doing that because it just is like normal for me. And then, God comes to me and he says, okay, well, you've mastered that level. Now I want you to start channeling for groups of people. And I'm like, no. And he's like, yes. I'm like, are you? And I remember her saying, okay, I'm going to pretend like I don't hear that. And then he comes back and he says,
Okay.
I know, I heard you say that, and I know that you heard me. And I'm like, oh, dang. So, okay, I can't get out. I can't get out of that. And so I'm like, okay, so I will surrender. So again, it comes back to what you and I were talking before about we surrender on different levels. And it can be terrifying for us. It can be lethargic for us. We can absolutely allow thoughts of perfectionism to overcome us, to say, no, I can't do it yet because it's not perfect. Well, the perfect time is right now in what you consider to be an imperfect state. And I experienced this today, and God told me to talk about this, is that your heart and soul feel when to move forward. And you make this promise to God, okay? And then what happens is our mind comes in and starts telling us, you're not ready. So then we start believing that, and then we start thinking, okay, well, I'm going to mess up this technology today so I don't have to be on the show. And you're laughing and giggling, and I'm going to come up with excuses so I don't have to be on the show. And then lo and behold, you send me messages back and you're like, Lee, everything's going to be fine. And then I dip back into my heart and I say, you know what? It is. And no matter what technical issues that we have, we will get through this because God has placed a message within your heart and within my heart, Julian, that it's time for us to meet.
No,
And
100%.
when we connected live, it was like brother and sister, soul relationship, and years in knowing and coming home back to each other. And I feel this in my heart right now. There are several of your followers that are trying to come into my heart right now. And I will allow you, because I am in you as you are in me, as Julian is God is. God is in each and every one of us. And I want you to feel that in every essence and every tiny cell within your body, your mind, your spirits, your emotions, your essence, and your aura. There has never been a separation, or will there ever be a separation between you and your Creator. We are taught that we are separate, but that was darkness in manipulation. We are awakening. You are awakening to who you truly are and the essence of your being. The more and more of us that come online, we will raise the vibrational energy. And it is incredibly beautiful. I can't put words to it. And I want you to feel how beautiful it is.
I have to say, when we did, you were right, actually. When we went online and we started talking to each other, I come over hugely emotional, and we hadn't said, I don't even think we'd said a dozen words to each other. I just went, whoa, whoosh. And it was just like, wow, it was just amazing. It really was just amazing. As if, you're right, as if I'd known you for 100 years. And it really was a moving. I'm emotional now, but it really was an amazing thing. And I think, I keep beating a drum. I keep harping on. I keep going on about, the need for connection with ourselves, the need for our connection with spirit and with God and everything else that goes with that. But the need to raise our vibrations, our need to be love and give love and live that. And that's important, and we've got people, who are online and Anna said, what Lee said is so true. What you did say, Lee, is so true. And you are a wonderful shining light. You've got an amazing story. And, I always say when I do an interview, I want to take at least a few notes. Well, Lee, I've got a whole sheet full of notes. So, I've got loads of stuff. And, it's amazing. And we've got some lovely people in here, I had Swami Alhanda Parmashana. I can always remember how to pronounce the name. What a lovely lady this lady. She does Kriya Yoga. And she was one of the, Swami was on one of the earlier shows. She's an amazing lady and talks a lot of sense. And Andrea and Linda, and there's loads of people on here who were all saying, thank you so much for what you've said and everything else, because, what you talk about is so much needed for where we are at the moment. Because you're working with people, and when people are coming to you, is there, because I'm finding that there is a common thread to people who come to me for readings, spiritual people who come to me for mentorship, and I'm finding there's a common thread, and the common thread is they're lacking clarity, they're lacking purpose, and they're lacking awareness. And those three elements I'm seeing at the moment are really affecting people, that they need to have a greater awareness. They need to have a defined purpose, and they certainly need more clarity on the situation. Are you finding similar things when people come to you?
Yes. And how darkness manipulated us is to not allow us to know who we are. We chatted about this before, is if you don't have the divine feminine and the divine masculine married within ourselves, there's no union within us. So how can we define who we are? Because we don't know who we are. And if we don't have that balance and love internally, there's no way that we are going to be able to vibrate love outward. If you don't know who you are, you're not aware, you're not going to have any clarity. Absolutely. So another thing that's extremely important to know is that souls never die, ever. And each person that you meet in your lifetime is from a past soul life. And even before we were born, God came to each and every one of us and said, here is your assignment, your dharma, or your duty. Do you wish to take it on? And you can say yes or no. And you have said yes. So what happens is, you know, even before you're born, what your assignment is. And unfortunately, so does darkness. So you're going to come across triggers. And these triggers can be tests from darkness. So let's say that you were abused verbally and as a child. So darkness knows how to keep you down is triggering you through verbal assault. Okay? But as a young soul, you agreed to this mission because of your mighty grandeur, and God knew that you would overcome this. So what happens in your journey to overcome is other people that have been verbally abused will come to you. And the reason they come to you is because you are overcoming exactly what they are going through. Those of us that have come first, if you want to call them star seeds, way showers, indigos, beings of light, we have taken massive hits spiritually because darkness wanted to keep us down. Okay? So when you have made it this far, I want you to realize your grandeur, how epic you are, and how incredible you are. Your assignment was extremely and is extremely difficult. But the reason you accepted the grandeur of your assignment is because within your heart, you didn't want to see anybody else suffer and go through what you did. You owning up and overcoming the verbal abuse and standing up and saying no more broke the bond, broke the chain of worldwide verbal abuse. So when you feel right now the magnetism of, look, I have to do this calling, and you talked about it, Julian, of the center that you have to open.
Mm-hmm.
And you will do that no matter what.
Yep.
You will, because your soul made a promise to the divine even before you were born. And the people that will come to your center are going to be of your tribe, of your bloodline, of your spiritual bloodline, of the people that and the souls that you have met in the past. And I'm talking, when I say past, I mean eons and eons and eons and thousands of years of soul lives. And they will bring with them triggering events for you. But exactly what you needed to walk through and overcome is exactly the bond and break the bond that kept you small. But again, you're a way shower, you are on the front line, and you took that assignment on to break it, to break the chain so other people do not have to go through it. It's mighty.
It is, and it's and I just love the way you put it, because your words are so succinct, and it comes across in a very powerful and meaningful way. And I said the time would go quickly, and we're nearly up at time, but the conversation is so beautiful, and for me it means so much. What is so you are where you are on your journey now. What is your aims and objectives, over the next 12 months?
Oh, well, okay, so first off, they're all God's objectives because I've learned to surrender. And two, I signed up for this journey. And the grandeur of it and the immensity of it is it has to unfold. So what I will do is I have been told I will speak in public, and thousands of people will come. And I am to lift up humanity to their greatness, so you all see how incredible that you are. And within our tribe, we are leaders, we are teachers, we are reformers. You are to build yourself on high right now because the masses are coming. You are on the front lines. You are senior warriors. I am to build you and show you the way. The magnitude and the grandeur of who you are, please start living now. Because there are junior warriors behind you that watch how you move on the front line. And it's incredibly beautiful. And so I will do exactly what God wants me to do. Speak in public, which is not something I'm accustomed to. But I will overcome. I will overcome fear. I will overcome feelings of perfectionism. Why? Because I made a promise. And if I fall into line, into my beautiful assignment, it brings up the vibration of Mother Gaia and everyone else. And that's why we do this, for our love of humanity, right?
Yeah, we do. And that's one of the things that, for me, it is about raising that vibration. It is about, I've been working today, looking at the center that you talked about, and, looking at sort of what does it all mean? How's it going to work? And, for me, I'm somebody who is, has to have a why. Why are we doing it? And, the why statement was sort of along the lines of to help cultivate happy, healthy, spiritual lives full of awareness, clarity, purpose, and love. And that for me is like, if somebody walks in the front door of the center, I'd like him to walk out happy, healthy, full of awareness, clarity, purpose, and love. And that's what I want it to be. And I think one of the reasons, and again, in terms of the organization values, we want it to be based around empathy, non-judgmental. We have no agenda. We have no ulterior motives. We have no self-interest. We deliver it through love. We seek no praise or want anything in return. We just want to transcend individuals through self with best practice, world-class teachers, therapists, and practitioners. That is, that when I wrote it all down for the center, that's what I'm being told we have to achieve, because we can't no longer keep bathing in the sea of sameness. We have to get out, and we have to now start raising our vibrations.
And we are. So, and one of the biggest things I teach people to do is change the way that we speak to ourselves. So speak in present moment. The center is, these are the values of our center. As the center is open now, this is what we do. We do this on a regular basis. And when we start speaking in present tense, I do love myself. I have overcome shame, blame, guilt, judgment, perfectionism, and fear. Then that's what we radiate in. And then the universe and God just start bringing it all in. It's incredible. That's how powerful we are. Those on the front line, you have to feel that in your heart, in your soul, and in your essence. The way showers, the first wavers, the power that we have is centered in love, light, and peace. And you know what? Own it. Own every loving piece of who you are. There is absolutely no darkness in you. Not possible.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen to that. It's there's a lot of people asking, are you going to go on a world tour? We've got
yes.
tour manager. Don't worry, I'll make sure that I'll make sure we stay in the best tents and the best mud huts. Don't worry about that. So there's some people. Teresa, she's in Australia, and there's Greg, he's in America, and there's lots of people in the UK. So we're going to start the Lee tour. We'll come up with the name of the tour a little bit later on. But those words are amazing, and we were going to do questions and answers, but you know what, we've gone on, and it's just I wanted to let it run. One of the questions I do want to ask, though, and if we can, sure. I know Layla, who's in the room, and she comes to one of my classes, and I can tell you now, Lee, this lady, right, came to me about a month or so ago, 2 months ago, and her pet had passed away, and she was in a right state, and it really affected her, and she said, I'm not saying it's me or whatever, but she come to class for the last 2 months, and her mediumship, her psychic work, her philosophy, her beliefs, even her drawings now I'm seeing online are amazing. And she's really grown over the last 2 months. And I think that's testament to spirit and the work that we do. She says she's very proactive, by the way. She says she's just done a questionnaire online. She's been told that she's a Pitta Kappa dosha, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yes, it does. Yeah. And so we go ahead.
No, go on.
So we have all three elements in us. We have all three elements, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. It just depends on the makeup of them. So you have like a first position element, and it sounds like hers is either Pitta or Kapha, and then the second position, and then the third. So, please reach out, Layla. I'd be happy to help you. And it absolutely makes sense from an Ayurvedic standpoint that she has already gone and done her assessment because she's a Pitta. Pittas will not be denied anything, and you're so driven that you were so far ahead of the crowd that what happens is you burn out all of your ojas, which is beautiful energy and love in your heart. And what happens is you start to create gut issues. The body creates joint issues. So if we don't pacify or calm Pitta, it eats away at our body. And so this, you spoke, Julian, of one very important thing is that, look, everybody online here today, we are teachers. And your physical vessel is your body. And you are being called to be an example, to be a leader, to be a teacher. And it is critical that you start taking care of the temple that you have right here and right now, because you have a mission to awaken our world. Okay.
You are 100% correct. And I am feeling that, and you have inspired me to go to the next level. You wouldn't believe 10 months ago I would probably drink alcohol every night, and I don't anymore. So that's, as you say, I've gnawed at that little bit of the carrot. Lee, it's been amazing for you to come on this evening. It really has. We had a few technical speed bumps at the beginning, but we got over them. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that wonderful, radiant, beautiful face of yours all the way through because we've only had sound. But you know what? I will take your sound any day of the week because it's been truly, truly amazing. There's so many people in the room I'm sure will want to contact with you and friend request you and ask you questions and be there for you as well, because there's a real, I use the word tribe as well. They're wonderful people, and I think wonderful people attract wonderful people. So that's the reason we're all here tonight. I want to say thank you. I want to keep talking because I do think your story is truly inspirational. I think what you've achieved is nothing short of a miracle that you've been blessed with. And you do it in such a way that resonates with me because of the passion that's in your eyes, the passion that is in your voice, and the beauty that is in your smile. And the world is a much lighter and brighter place for you being part of that. And thank you for that.
Thank you. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak. And I want you all to know that it is truly your gift to speak as well. And the more that you speak, the more that you heal. And when you speak, you heal other people. It gives other people the gift to speak themselves. It's beautiful. It's uplifting. And it comes from your heart. And I will absolutely have a world tour. I'm not sure how, but it will happen. And you're all beautiful. I feel your love. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your journey.
There are times in all of our lives when we come across special people, and Lee Rowley is certainly one of these. An inspirational lady that has done the full circle, that was at the lowest of the lows and had the dark nights, but has now come back and flourishing as bright as ever. It was a true pleasure to have her on the show, and I really do believe that we'll be working together in the not too distant future. As always, thank you very much for listening. this show as well. If you'd like to make a donation, you can do so at www.paypal.me/Light and Harmony. That's how we keep this show free. Thanks for listening, and I hope you can take some of those things away. And just remember, be love and give love. Until the next time, take care.